Greetings, wrestling fans! Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about this episode of Smackdown, November 4th, 2022. We kick things off with a match, and that matchup being Liv Morgan versus Sonya Deville in a no disqualifications match. You know, I've tried to like Sonya Deville for quite the longest time, if I'm being completely honest. You know, I've enjoyed some of her storylines here and there. You know, I've enjoyed the ones she had with Mandy Rose. I enjoyed the ones she had with Naomi. Like, I've enjoyed some of the stuff that she's been involved in. But tonight, I felt I finally made my conclusion with Sonya. She's a good wrestler. She is a good wrestler. But I felt she isn't someone I would really put the title on. She's a good hand. She's someone who I could see being someone who could really do well in making another person look good. I feel that has really been Sonya's role, and I feel that's just how she should really be. She should really be someone who could really make another person look good. I think that's Sonya's role to me. So, that's kind of my conclusion on her. Everyone might think differently. Some people may say, oh, like, she should be champion and all that stuff. If you think differently to what I feel about Sonya, that's perfectly fine. But I think she's a good hand, where she can make someone else look good and elevate the next person. And she's a good heel, and she's very good at her job as a heel. I mean, maybe I wouldn't mind trying her out as a babyface, you know, as like a little experiment, see if the fans would get behind her. But other than that, I guess we'll see. But that's really my overall thoughts on Sonya Deville. My final conclusion on her, as you will. But her and Liv Morgan here have a pretty fun match. They have a pretty fun match. And Liv Morgan ends up with the win, delivering Oblivion on top of a bunch of steel chairs. And Liv Morgan's crazy character kind of gives me a little bit of AJ Lee vibe. Just a little bit. Alright, so next we get LA Knight going one-on-one with Rick O'Shea, and LA Knight decides to get a little personal with Samantha Irvin, talking trash to her, Ricochet's woman, and Ricochet doesn't take too kindly to it as he dives on top of LA Knight to pretty much shut him up for talking trash about his woman. But however, at the end of this match, LA Knight ends up defeating Ricochet, defeats him with a roll-up, pulls his trunks, and puts his hand on top of the rope for double leverage. And, yeah, that's LA Knight not getting a victory. You know, I like LA Knight, especially as a heel. I think LA Knight's got a lot of potential. I think he's going to be a big star. And he's already getting the crowd reactions that he needs. So I feel we're off to a good start here. We get like this really bizarre segment with Bray Wyatt as he's talking to himself, and then he gets interrupted and he gets cranky. He gets cranky at some crew guy for interrupting him. And yeah, as you guys know, my reviews are not in particular order. I just talk about what I remember. So yeah, either something is going on in Bray's head, or something is controlling him. I'm not sure what that whole thing is. And also another thing I would like to bring up is Emma. She had a backstage segment. She talked about her comeback after coming back for 5 years. In my honest opinion, it's still so surreal to me that she's back. Honestly, I never thought she'd ever come back. It's still so surreal to me that Emma is back. But then she gets confronted by Zaya Lee. Now, this is possibly one of the best things about bringing women back into your division, bringing people back and adding more to your division. It now gives, bringing someone like Emma back now gives, women like Zaya Lee something to do. Like Sonya, like Lacey Evans as well. Like, bringing more people back means more feuds. So it's interesting to really see how that is really all going to develop. So I'm very much excited for Emma versus Zaya Lee, to be perfectly honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Zaya Lee, but I think Emma and Zaya Lee could have potential to be a decent non-title feud. Sami Zayn talks to the Bloodline backstage, and Jey Uso ignores Sami Zayn, as always he does. He always ignores Sami Zayn, and they go out to cut a promo on the Brawling Brutes. This leads to the New Day coming down, New Day issuing a challenge to the winning team at Crown Jewel. I personally feel the Usos, despite that the Bloodline stood tall on this edition of Smackdown, I want to sit here and tell you guys how I'm hoping and praying the Bloodline standing tall today really means that the Usos are going to lose at Crown Jewel. Trust me, I really want to think that. I really, really, really want to think that. But this is the Bloodline. This is the Bloodline we're talking about. I still think they're going to retain. I still think the Usos are going to retain, and then on SmackDown, they're going to fight they're going to fight the New Day, and then they will beat the Usos. And then the Usos will beat the New Day to break the all-time record. I just think it's just going to happen. As much as I want to hope and pray that this is it for the Usos and they finally lose, I just can't see it. I ain't watching Crown Jewel tomorrow. There's no way in hell I'm watching Crown Jewel. I'm not giving Crown Jewel, and I'm not giving Saudi Arabia any of my viewership. I'm not giving them my viewership. They can get stuffed. I would rather look up what happened. But anyway, I still think the Usos are going to retain at Crown Jewel, and they'll also beat the New Day, I think. But I do hope and pray that their title reign either ends tomorrow or on SmackDown against the New Day. Then we get a sleeper match. And when I say sleeper, I don't mean sleeper, it's a secret banger and you need to go watch it. When I say sleeper, I mean it makes me want to grab my goddamn pillow and make me want to friggin' fall asleep. That's sleeper. It wants to turn me into Wendy Chu. It is Shayna Baszler against Natalya. Listen, I prefer Natalya as a babyface, but I'm sorry, I just didn't care for this match. I really didn't care for this. I knew Shayna Baszler was winning this match, so I didn't give two flying noodles about this. Shayna Baszler won, carry through the clutch, and then Shayna exposes her knee pad and knees Natalya in the face, causing Natalya to gush with blood and suffer a broken nose. She suffers a broken nose with blood coming out of her nose, gushing out of her face. And they also had a tissue for Natalya, and you could see her putting the tissue up her nose. To me, that looked so legit. But I understand it's probably just it wasn't really real, but it really came off very real. But yeah, Ronda Rousey's also with Shayna Baszler, and now bloody fans want to see Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey win the tag team championships. Yeah, if you really want to ruin the division, if you really want to ruin this women's division even more, put the women's tag team championships on Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. I would rather the women's division actually thrive and actually be important, instead of it being friggin' handcuffed to lazy, boring wrestlers like Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. I would rather Alexa Bliss and Asuka remain champions for a long time than friggin' Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And more importantly, I would rather see Raquel Rodriguez or Shotzi than Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. I may rag on Raquel and Shotzi and say they're not good wrestlers, but I would rather watch their matches than Shayna Baszler and see Ronda Rousey. Hell, I'd even rather see Lacey Evans than these two. Seriously. I just don't care. And I wish WWE would stop shoving Shayna and Ronda down my throat. I'm so sick and tired of WWE trying to make these two look like a legitimate threat. Ronda ruins the women's division. Shayna makes it even worse. The MMA 4 Horsewomen destroy any kind of credibility that the women's division has. I just do not understand why people like these two so much. I don't understand why fans want to see these two on TV, and I don't understand why people think these two legitimize the women's division. They don't legitimize anything. Just because they're former MMA fighters doesn't mean it's a good thing. Seriously, these two ruin everything about women's wrestling. These two make women's wrestling boring. And that's just the fact of life. Yeah! Anyway, moving on. Braun Strowman destroys MVP. He brings out like a bunch of nobodies, and then Braun just beats the crap out of him, and then Braun gives MVP like 3 running power slams. And then our main event was Gunter taking on Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Despite that I don't really care for Rey all that much anymore, I thoroughly did enjoy this main event match. I thought it was very good. And Gunther's just such an amazing athlete. I tell you, this man is something special. He's something special. He's something special, this Gunter. Would I really want him to break Honky Tonk's record, considering how people feel about Roman Reigns' title reign right now? I think Gunther should have a legitimate shot at breaking the Honky Tonk Man's record, but the problem is fans are just going to get bored of his title reign and saying that he's held it for too long. Fans are just going to whine about his title reign being too long. That's the problem. I don't mind long title reigns, but then it just becomes a problem because then people just start bitching about title reigns going on for too long. I wouldn't mind Gunther breaking the Honky Tonk Man's record, but the only problem with that is that fans are just going to complain about his title reign and say, oh, it's going on for too long. You know? So, I really wish he did lose to Sheamus, though. But that's obviously not going to happen. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Smackdown. I'm not watching Crown Jewel tomorrow, and I sure as hell will not be reviewing it. Anyway, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.